Desi Arnaz, Desiderio Alberto Arnaz y Duacha III, better known as Desi Arnaz of Desi Arnaz, Sr., was a Cuban-born American actor, musician, and television producer. He is best remembered for his role as Ricky Ricardo on the American television series sitcom I Love Lucy. He co-starred on that show with Lucille Ball, to whom he was married at the time. He and Ball are generally credited as the inventors of the syndicated rerun, which they pioneered with the I Love Lucy series. Arnaz and Lucille Ball co-founded and ran the television production company Desilu Productions, originally to market I Love Lucy to television networks. After I Love Lucy ended, Arnaz went on to produce several other television series, at first with Desilu Productions, and later independently. These series included The Ann Sothern Show, The Untouchables, and Land's End. He was also renowned for leading his Latin music band, the Desi Arnaz Orchestra. Early life. Arnaz was born Desiderio Alberto Arnaz y Duacha III, in Santiago de Cuba, to Desiderio Alberto Arnaz y de Alberni II and his wife Dolores Duacha. His father was Santiago's youngest mayor and also served in the Cuban House of Representatives. His maternal grandfather was Alberto Duacha, an executive at the Cardi Rum. According to Arnaz, in his autobiography A Book, the family owned 3 ranches, a palatial home, and a vacation mansion on a private island in Santiago Bay, Cuba. Following the 1933 Cuban Revolution, led by Fulgencio Battisti, which overthrew President Gerardo Machado, Alberto Arnaz was jailed, and all of his property was confiscated. He was released after 6 months when his brother-in-law Alberto Duacha intervened on his behalf. The family then fled to Miami, where Desi attended St. Patrick Catholic High School. In the summer of 1934, he attended St. Leo Prep to help improve his English. Film career. When he moved to the United States, Desi Arnaz turned to show business to support himself. In 1939, he starred on Broadway in the musical Too Many Girls. He went to Hollywood the next year to appear in the show's movie version at RKO, which starred Lucille Ball. Arnaz and Ball eloped on November 30, 1940. Arnaz also played guitar for Xavier Cugat. Arnaz appeared in several movies in the 1940s such as Bataan. He received his draft notice, but before reporting, he injured his knee. He completed his recruit training, but was classified for limited service in the United States Army during World War II. He was assigned to direct United Service Organization programs at a military hospital in the San Fernando Valley. Discovering the first thing the wounded soldiers requested was a glass of cold milk. He arranged for movie starlets to meet them and pour the milk for them. Following his discharge from the Army, he formed another orchestra, which was successful in live appearances and recordings. He sang for troops in Birmingham Hospital with John Machia, and hired his childhood friend Marco Rizzo to play piano and arrange for the orchestra. When he became successful in television, he kept the orchestra on his payroll, and Rizzo arranged and orchestrated the music for I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy. On October 15, 1951, Arnaz co-starred in the premiere of I Love Lucy, in which he played a fictionalized version of himself. Cuban orchestra leader Enrique "Ricky" Ricardo. His co-star was his real-life wife, Lucille Ball, who played Ricky's wife, Lucy. Television executives had been pursuing Ball to adapt her very popular radio series My Favorite Husband for television. Ball insisted on Arnaz playing her on-air spouse so the two would be able to spend more time together. CBS wanted Ball's husband, co-star Richard Denning. The original premise was for the couple to portray Lucy and Larry Lopez, a successful show business couple whose glamorous careers interfered with their efforts to maintain a normal marriage. Market research indicated, however, that this scenario would not be popular, so Jess Oppenheimer changed it to make Ricky Ricardo a struggling young orchestra leader, and Lucy an ordinary housewife who had show business fantasies but no talent. The character name, Larry Lopez, was dropped because of a real-life band leader named Vincent Lopez, and was replaced with Ricky Ricardo. Ricky often appeared at, and later owned, the Tropicana Club, which under his ownership he renamed Club Babalu. Initially, the idea of having Ball and the distinctly Latino Arnaz portray a married couple encountered resistance, as they were told that Desi's Cuban accent and Latin style would not be agreeable to American viewers. The couple overcame these objections, however, by touring together during the summer of 1950. In a live vaudeville act they developed with the help of Spanish clown Pepito Perez, together with Ball's radio show writers. Much of the material from their vaudeville act, including Lucy's memorable seal routine, was used in the pilot episode of I Love Lucy. Segments of the pilot were recreated in the 6th episode of the show's first season. During his time on the show, he became TV's most successful entrepreneur. Desilu Productions. With Ball, Arnaz founded Desilu Productions. At the time, most television programs were broadcast live, and as the largest markets were in New York, the rest of the country received only kinescope images. Carl Freund, Arnaz's cameraman, and even Arnaz himself have been credited with the development of the multiple camera setup production style using adjacent sets in front of a live audience that became the standard for subsequent situation comedies. The use of film enabled every station around the country to broadcast high-quality images of the show. Arnaz was told that it would be impossible to allow an audience onto a sound stage, but he worked with Freund to design a set that would accommodate an audience, allow filming, and adhere to fire and safety codes. Network executives considered the use of film an unnecessary extravagance. Arnaz convinced them to allow Desilu to cover all additional costs associated with filming, under the stipulation that Desilu owned and controlled all rights to the film. Arnaz pushed the network to allow them to show Ball pregnant. According to Arnaz, the CBS network told him, "You cannot show a pregnant woman on television." Arnaz consulted a priest, a rabbi, and a Protestant minister, all of whom told him that there would be nothing wrong with showing a pregnant Lucy, or using the word pregnant. The network finally relented and let Arnaz and Ball weave the pregnancy into the storyline, but remained adamant about eschewing use of pregnant, so Arnaz substituted expecting, pronouncing it spectin, in his Cuban accent. Oddly, the official titles of 2 of the series episodes employed the word pregnant. Lucy is enceinte, employing the French word for pregnant, and pregnant women are unpredictable. Although the episode titles never appeared on the show itself. In addition to I Love Lucy, he executive produced The Ann Sothern Show and Those Whiting Girls, and was involved in several other series such as The Untouchables, Whirly Birds, and Sheriff of Cochise, United States Marshal. He also produced the feature film Forever, Darling, in which Ball and he starred. In the late 1950s, Arnaz proposed a Western television series to his then-neighbor, Victor Orsatti, who formed a production company, Raw Vic, in partnership with actor Rory Calhoun. Raw Vic produced The Texan, which aired on Monday evenings on CBS from 1958 to 1960. Episodes were budgeted at $40,000 each, with 2 black-and-white segments filmed weekly through Desilu Studios. Despite the name, the series was mostly in Pearl Flats in the Mojave Desert of Southern California. The program could have been renewed for a 3rd season had Calhoun not desired to return to films. The original Desilu company continued long after Arnaz's divorce from Ball and her subsequent marriage to Gary Morton. Desilu produced its own programs and provided facilities to other producers. Desilu produced The Andy Griffith Show, The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Lucy Show, Mission Impossible, and Star Trek. When Ball sold her share of Desilu to what became Paramount Television, Arnaz went on to form his own production company from his share of Desilu. With the newly formed Desi Arnaz Productions, he made the mothers-in-law for United Artists Television and NBC. This sitcom ran for 2 seasons, from 1967 to 1968. Arnaz's company was succeeded in interest by the company now known as Desilu and Lucille Ball Productions work hand-in-hand with MPI Home Video in the home video reissues of the Ball Arnaz material not currently owned by CBS. This material includes Here's Lucy and The Mothers-in-Law, as well as many programs and specials Ball and Arnaz made independently of each other. Beliefs. Arnaz and Ball decided that the show would maintain what Arnaz termed basic good taste, and were therefore determined to avoid ethnic jokes, as well as humor based on physical handicaps or mental disabilities. Arnaz recalled that the only exception consisted of making fun of Ricky Ricardo's accent. Even these jokes worked only when Lucy, as his wife, did the mimicking. In his family, he remarked that all the husbands practiced adultery, and that he did so himself when he was with Ball. It primarily led to their divorce. Arnaz was deeply patriotic about the United States. In his memoirs, he wrote that he knew of no other country in the world where a 16-year-old kid, broke and unable to speak the language, could achieve the successes that he had. Marriages. Arnaz and Lucille Ball were married on November 30, 1940. Their marriage was turbulent. Convinced that Arnaz was being unfaithful to her, and also because he came home drunk several times, Ball filed for divorce in September 1944, but returned to him before the interlocutory decree became final. Arnaz and Ball subsequently had 2 children, actress Lucy Arnaz and actor Desi Arnaz, Jr. Arnaz's marriage with Ball began to collapse under the strain of his growing problems with alcohol and womanizing. According to his memoir, the combined pressures of managing the production company, as well as supervising its day-to-day operations, had greatly worsened as it grew much larger, and he felt compelled to seek outlets to alleviate the stress. Arnaz was also suffering from diverticulitis. Ball divorced him in 1960. When Ball returned to weekly television, Arnaz and she worked out an agreement regarding Desilu, wherein she bought him out. Arnaz married his second wife, Edith Hirsch, on March 2, 1963. And greatly reduced his show business activities. He served as executive producer of The Mothers-in-Law, and during its 2-year run, made 4 guest appearances as a Spanish matador, Senor Delgado. Edith died in 1985, aged 67, from cancer. Although both Arnaz and Ball married other spouses after their divorce in 1960, they remained friends, and grew closer in his final decade. I Love Lucy was never just a title, wrote Arnaz in the last years of his life. family home video later aired on television showed Ball and Arnaz playing together with their grandson Simon shortly before Arnaz's death. Later life. In the 1970s, Arnaz co-hosted a week of shows with daytime host and producer Mike Douglas. Vivian Vance appeared as a guest. Arnaz also headlined a Kraft Musical special on NBC that featured his two children, with a brief appearance by Vance to promote his autobiography, A Book, on February 21, 1976. Arnaz served as a guest host on Saturday Night Live, with his son, Desi Jr. also appearing. The program contained spoofs of I Love Lucy and The Untouchables. The spoofs of I Love Lucy were supposed to be earlier concepts of the show that never made it on the air, such as I Love Louie, where Desi lived with Louis Armstrong. He read Lewis Carroll's poem, Jabberwocky, in a heavy Cuban accent. Desi Jr. played the drums and, supported by the SNL band, Desi sang both Babalu and another favorite from his dance band days, Cuban Pete. The arrangements were similar to the ones used on I Love Lucy. He ended the broadcast by leading the entire cast in a raucous conga line through the SNL studio. Arnaz and his wife eventually moved to Del Mar, California, where he lived the rest of his life in semi-retirement. He owned a horse breeding farm in Corona, California, and raised thoroughbreds. He contributed to charitable and non-profit organizations, including San Diego State University. He also taught classes at San Diego State in studio production and acting for television. Arnaz made a guest appearance on the TV series Arnaz, starring Linda Lavin, and produced by I Love Lucy co-creators Madeline Pugh and Bob Carroll, Jr. Death. Arnaz was a regular smoker for much of his life and often smoked cigarettes on the set, as well as on camera in I Love Lucy. He smoked Cuban cigars into his 60s. Arnaz was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1986. He died several months later on December 2, 1986, at the age of 69. Arnaz was cremated and his ashes scattered. His death came just 5 days before Ball received the Kennedy Center honors. He was survived by his children and his mother, Dolores, who died on October 24, 1988, at the age of 92. Legacy. Desi Arnaz has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 1 at 6301 Hollywood Boulevard for contributions to motion pictures and 1 at 6250 Hollywood Boulevard for television. In 1956, Arnaz won a Golden Globe for Best TV Show for the work he, his colleagues, and studio had done while he was served as head of production. The Lucille Ball Desi Arnaz Center Museum is in Jamestown, New York, and the Desi Arnaz Band shell in the Lucille Ball Memorial Park is in Soloron, New York. As actor. 1982, The Escape Artist. Mayor Leon Quinn owns 1978, Alice. Paco 1976, Saturday Night Live 1974, Ironside. Dr. Juan Domingo 1970, The Virginian. El Yefa 1970, Kraft Music Hall. Host 1967, The Mothers-in-Law. Rafael Delgado 1961, The Red Skelton Show. Guest, himself 1959, Sunday Showcase 1959, Make Room for Daddy. Ricky Ricardo 1958, Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse. Ricky Ricardo. 1957, The Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. Ricky Ricardo 1956, I Love Lucy Christmas Show. Ricky Ricardo 1956, Forever, Darling. Lorenzo Xavier Vega 1953, The Long, Long Trailer. Nicholas, Nicky, Collini 1951, I Love Lucy. Ricky Ricardo 1949, Holiday in Havana. Carlos Estrada 1947, Jitarumba 1946, Cuban Pete himself 1943, Bataan. Felix Ramirez 1942, The Navy Comes Through. Pat Tariba 1942, For Jackson a Jill. Steve Sato, King Stefan VIII of Regal 1941, Father Takes a Wife. Carlos Bardez 1940, Too Many Girls. Manuelito Lynch. Soundtracks. 2001, I Love Lucy's 50th Anniversary Special, A.K.A. The I Love Lucy 50th Anniversary Special, USA 1958, The Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, A.K.A. We Love Lucy, USA, Lucy Wins a Racehorse TV Episode 1952, I Love Lucy, A.K.A. Lucy in Connecticut, USA, A.K.A. The Sunday Lucy Show, USA, A.K.A. The Top 10 Lucy Show, USA, Lucy and Bob Hope TV episode, Ricky's European Booking TV episode, Cuban Pals TV episode 1956, Forever, Darling 1949, Holiday in Havana 1946, Desi Arnaz and his orchestra, Taboo, Pin Marin, A.K.A. Melody Masters, Desi Arnaz and his orchestra, USA 1942, For Jackson a Jill 1941, Father Takes a Wife. Miyama, 1940, Too Many Girls. Bibliography. Arnaz, Desi. A Book. New York, William Morrow, 1976, Sanders, Coyne, Stephen, and Thomas W. Gilbert. Desilu, The Story of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. New York, Morrow, 1993, Brady. Kathleen. Lucille, The Life of Lucille Ball. New York, Hyperion. Perez Fermat, Gustavo. The Man Who Loved Lucy, In Life on the Hyphen, The Cuban-American Way. Austin, The University of Texas Press, 1994. RPT, 1996-1999. Revised and Expanded Edition, 2012. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. Please